Hi, this is Dana, and on this channel I speak about spiritual warfare. I have another channel on which I speak about astrology, and a Facebook on which I wrote prophetic writings. You find that in the description box below. Anything else you find in social media basically are fake accounts created by copycats. And if you see my work anywhere else aside from my channels, please let me know, and so I will identify who does how many copies of my. That's stolen intellectual property. I don't post anywhere else. I only post here. I don't post anywhere else. Okay, so in the current video, I will speak about self-fulfilling prophecies. Self-fulfilling prophecies basically means it's a very common concept for those who studied international relations and military issues. It's something where a concept whereby a fear which you hold, it becomes reality. You manifest it in reality through the energy you put in it and how you act upon that thought. And this, those who do military, I'm pretty sure throughout school they had case studies related to wars, even world wars, which were started because of self-fulfilling prophecies. Perceptions, wrong perceptions about the opponents, intentions, and military build-up in preparing to defend against an enemy which didn't actually intend to attack, and so on. Many things like this led to wars in the past. This is how the control of armament came about, basically, to exchange information. So these kind of situations of self-fulfilling prophecies and wrong perceptions and misinterpretation of situations and intentions will not in the future lead to armed conflict anymore. But this is very true to astral and the spiritual world as well. Your thoughts and beliefs have power in limiting yourself or allowing you to expand. It is really, really important to understand this. And unfortunately, I have seen throughout my entire life, not only in astral, but throughout my entire life, many people who usually fear or they have limiting beliefs, you know, like they, especially in public institutions, they will always say, okay, this is the system, you know, this is we cannot do anything about it. This is the system. But I always challenge that, and I not always, but in certain situations I challenge that, and I used to say, you know, who created the system? The system was created by individuals, humans. We are humans. We can change the system. It doesn't have to be like this. Even the norms that we are following were invented by someone. We can change that too. We can change anything if you want to and you believe it's worth changing. You don't have to change just for the sake of it. But the fact that you believe that this is it and you cannot change, this is wrong. In 3D, in astral, anywhere, this is wrong. You can change anything. Anyhow, trying to focus on the topic, so I won't deviate because I don't want this to be a long video. God has given me a few examples which he wanted me to touch upon. For example, I'll give you an example of self-fulfilling prophecies and of fears and limiting beliefs, you know, and how individuals are misusing that. And this is a 3D programming. You must know the limiting beliefs are the fact that you can't do that. But if you ask those individuals, they will never be able to explain to you why you can't. Just because it's the system. But so what if it's the system? Then why can't we change it? Even God gives you free will. Anything can be done. You can choose, and God always takes time. For example, there's no such situation when you don't have an option. But there is a situation when your limiting beliefs block you from seeing the opportunity which is right there. Or maybe it's not right there, but you can find it if you walk outside of that box, of that confined area, you know? I have seen God working tirelessly with everybody. Every time when somebody has a choice to make, even all karmics, you know, he always makes time to make sure that individual has different option available. Many times I have seen God, when somebody is on the verge of making a wrong decision, putting in his face another option which reflects exactly what he should be choosing, just hoping that he will see the difference and he will see that, okay, what I'm choosing is not right, I should go with the other one, or something like this. Anyhow, so this is what I mean. God gives free will choice to everyone, so you can change. We came here to change things. We didn't come here to comply. We didn't come in 3D to comply. Okay? Anyhow, one example, I will give you one example, which God guided me to talk about. Because God said this is important for your former colleagues in public institutions, those who actually are still in public institutions. I left a few years ago when I resigned, but of course there are many others in public institutions, and God seems to, of course, care about them. So he asked me to talk about this example. So it was in, I think it was 2000, very early, very early in 2006, I think. Yes, in spring 2006, January up to spring in 2006. I was covering many files in MFA, among which it was one on conventional armament control, the CFE treaty. And basically what was happening at the end of 2005, just a few months before, there was a decision, of course, for USA to create bases, military bases in Eastern Europe. And of course, it was requested that we give an evaluation. This is the procedure. Before you sign such an agreement of international relations, you receive an evaluation from MFA, from the department in charge, to endorse your decision, to just evaluate the situation, and if it's beneficial to sign that, and what could be the consequences, what recommendations MFA has, and so on. MFA is not the only institution. There are other institutions as well which give recommendation on this matter, of course, particularly since it's a military issue, right? But I was covering this, so I was supposed to make the evaluation, right? And I explained to my boss at the time, right? I explained to him, look, this is in breach with CFE treaty, establishing military bases on Romanian soil. Regardless how you arrange that or how you phrase that, it's in breach with the spirit of the treaty of the CFE. So basically, of course, my boss said, it cannot be so. What do you mean it cannot be so? These are two totally different agreements which are conflicting with each other. And he says, no, because political leadership decided that we signed this, we do this, so then you have to make it look positive. And they said, well, I don't know how to make it look positive, because I can say it's beneficial to have American military basing in Romania because we are strategic allies and we are NATO members, but it's still in breach with the spirit of the CFE treaty, where we are members, both us and USA. So it's not only us in breach with the treaty, but there's also them in breach with the treaty. And he kept saying, no, but we were requested to give a positive recommendation. But I cannot give you that. Listen to me. And I explained to him, this boss of mine, at the time he had absolutely no experience whatsoever in the field. And I explained to him, listen to me, there are over 40 countries which are members of this treaty. In a few months, we will have the annual review conference. And all countries, delegations from all countries come together to discuss about what has been going on in this in the activity covered by this treaty. And I swear to you, I'm pretty sure, I'm an expert. So I'll talk to you not from a political perspective, but from the perspective of an expert. All other countries have experts. All experts know the same thing. This is in breach with the spirit of the treaty. And of course, the political leadership can decide to make the military basing. This is a political decision, but it has diplomatic and military consequences. And you must understand that it is my responsibility as an expert to make sure that that individual political person is aware of the consequences. Because at the CFE review conference, I promise you, there will be other delegations which will stand up and will raise this problem with you. And the political leadership needs to be aware. Now, the political leadership has been voted in power by the public. I cannot change that. But I can make sure that if he makes a wrong decision, he's aware of the consequences, and then he's assumed person, and he takes accountability for the consequences. Because there will be a time when at least Russia, if no other country, will have an issue with that. I promise you. I cannot explain to you. We had fights so many hours. He kept insisting, no, you cannot say that it's in breach with the spirit. And I explained, and I will explain it very briefly here, so you will understand it, everyone, because it can be narrowed down easily. Basically, the CFE treaty talks about the two blocks, East and West, during the Cold War era, because it was negotiated during the Cold War era, right? And they establish certain provisions regarding armament control and exchange of information to make sure that there is no, as I said in the beginning, no misperception about each other, and they don't start wars with no reason. Of course, the agreement with USA to establish military bases in Romania is in breach with that the spirit of that treaty, because that treaty was signed by countries which were divided into military blocks and were basically in conflict with each other. You cannot have a military base from a bloc, Western bloc, into the Eastern bloc, because they were enemies at the time when the treaty was negotiated. And it's not possible. And I gave him many options. I said, we can withdraw from the treaty. We can adjust the treaty. We can make a different note about a different agreement. There are many options, but you need to tell the political leadership, this will be raised by others. If we don't deal with it, will be raised by others. Anyhow, I couldn't actually make him listen to me. And all of a sudden, after a while, as I was working on my evaluation, I said I will write the evaluation and we will send it. I received a phone call from the presidency, from the counselor of the president on military issues and defense. Now, presidency is like the White House, okay? So it's the presidency. And normally the procedure is that, of course, the counselor to the president, it's very high level, and he will talk to the minister or maybe the state secretary. But I was only desk officer, so you don't talk to me normally. So it's actually himself, this counselor to the president, Stanișoară is his name, and he calls me and he says, I heard that you are the one writing the evaluation for this, and I called you to dictate to you what to write in your evaluation. Now, I think and I hope that anyone can understand that this is breaking the procedures. Normally, it's the MFA sending an evaluation and a recommendation at the presidency. It's not the presidency which dictates to us what to write at the MFA. And I told him, I said, I can make the evaluation and I can send it to you with recommendations. And he said, no, the president is not willing to sign the evaluation you decided to write. So he knew what I decided to write. And I told him, I said, the president is being elected by the people. So he can decide whatever. It's... I'm only making my evaluation and the MFA position recommendation for national position. But the final decision resides with the political leadership, of course. And Mr. President can decide if he doesn't agree with me. But He has to take accountability for his decision. So he has to write with his own hand on the evaluation which I sent to you. I do not agree with Mrs. Marca and with MFA. This is stupid recommendation you people make, and I decide to do this and that. But you cannot impose to me to make a recommendation to you which fits your desires. Although me as an expert, I tell you that is in breach with the current norms and agreements and treaties that Romania has signed. You can do that, but you cannot force me to say that this is my idea, because it's not. It's your idea. And if it's your idea and you're a political person and you have been voted in the office, then you should be accountable for it, for the history. There should be a president's signature or your signature on this paper with the correct view, which you seem to believe that this is the correct view, and you have to sign next to it. So the history will know who decided this, and the history will also know that me, humbly, as a desk officer, I disagreed with you. Excuse me. Anyhow, he was very offended. He started yelling at me, saying all sorts of things. And I said to him, I also don't know why you called me. I'm only a desk officer. You're actually supposed to call my superiors. I have a director, I have a director general, I have a state secretary, and I have a minister. There are many people, and there's also the prime minister. So in this government, there are many people above me in the hierarchy, which you could have called to tell them all this. So why you called me? I personally would like to inform you that this actually is also in breach of the procedures, internal procedures, because normally you don't speak to me. Normally you speak to my boss. I have a boss, We couldn't agree with each other. He started yelling at me, and basically I told him, I'm not going to write this. This is not the way to go. I'm sorry, but this is not the way to go. Normal, you can do. I'm not challenging, and I told him, I'm not challenging the fact that the president can choose whatever. I'm not challenging the fact that you can think whatever. You can have whatever opinion you want. What I'm saying is that you or the president, according to the procedures, shouldn't be calling me and dictating me what to write in my own evaluation, because I put my name here, and my name will not be put under your view, because I don't agree with it. If I would agree with it, then I would be so easygoing with this. But unfortunately, we are in a very high conflict of opinions here on this matter, and I do not agree with what you say. So therefore, I want only to point out that also you're breaking procedures, internal procedures of communication. It's normal that MFA sends to you, not you dictate to MFA what to write. And again, what MFA sends to you doesn't limit your options and your decision making. Your decision making is free. You're political. You can choose whatever. But the point is, don't force me to say that this was my recommendation, because it's not. Anyhow, my boss was outraged. He said, "What? So you had a fight with him? I told you to say whatever he wants. But I told you I am not gonna, just because it's wrong what they say." And this is... Anyhow, we had a conflict over this. Nobody agreed with me, and everybody was terrified. Everybody said, "Oh, you must be crazy. Why you didn't obey? Why you didn't write what he said?" I tell you this, a few months later, at the review conference, Russia stood up, Russian delegation stood up and left the room when Romania expressed the position which was dictated by those from presidency, from that individual, Stanișoara. I left my office, basically. I told my boss, I said, "Listen to me. I understand that all of you want to obey this individual who truly wants us to write a very wrong thing. I tell you that this is going to become a scandal in international relations. You are trying to avoid a debate within our government between MFA and presidency, and you will create a huge scandal on international relations scale, because other countries will raise the issue which I'm raising. This is what I'm trying to tell you. You are not alone. Only here this individual can dictate. But when he will be in in the same room with other delegations and everybody will say like me, he will not be able to dictate anymore. Listen, it wasn't possible to get through to them. Everybody was so terrified of this individual that so at the end of the day I said, okay, listen to me. I'm not going to accept to be bullied, intimidated, and like this. And I'm not going to accept this attitude where he thinks he can call me from presidency, dictate to me what to write in an evaluation. We can have a dialogue, but at no point in time is he entitled to dictate to me what to write in an evaluation which I'm sending to him. Because the procedure is I write the evaluation, I send it to him, and then he makes a decision. So I said, I'm leaving. I'm leaving from the office for a few months until you people deal with this. I'm going, I already earned the scholarship in Geneva, so I'm leaving for 3 months. And you deal with this on your own, because I'm not willing to put my name on this paper which you write. I'm leaving my file for you to decide whatever recommendation you want to write. I wrote my recommendation. This is what I believe it should go to the higher levels. If you don't want to send this, I am not signing anything else. I don't want to be my name to be on something else, because I'm telling you, this is not right. I left on my scholarship to Geneva. I can tell you that this individual, my boss, he was so upset with me. He said, fine, leave, because you're just bothering us. I said, fine, I'm leaving. I left to GCSP on a scholarship, and I was in Geneva when he called me from Vienna, from the reunion, from the CFE review conference. And he was panicked. And he said, Dana, what are we doing? They basically went with what that individual from presidency said. And they created the Romanian position based on that. And the Russian delegation, of course, when they heard the position, they stood up and left the room. And they said they will not accept to be in the same room again with the Romanian delegation. You see, this is my point. This is my point. This is exactly what I wanted to show you. This individual, my boss, thought he cannot fight that individual because he was that one was the presidency. But the point is, this is only a limiting belief which you have. When he got to the international reunion and he saw that most countries present there have the same view which I expressed, then you understand that that was only a limiting belief and you simply didn't have courage enough to say the truth. That was a limiting belief which put you in a very bad situation later on and generated dramatic consequences, because then Russia suspended the treaty. They didn't want to implement the treaty anymore, the arms control treaty. And a whole scandal started in the international relations, you know. So this is what I want to say. The limiting beliefs. Oh my God, I cannot contradict this individual because he's at the presidency. So what? So what? He's at the presidency. He's breaking the rules. And he wants us to write something which is stupid. So why? Why would I fear him? And of course, he feared because he told me, yeah, but you see, then he told us that you are disobedient and that we should punish you. Because it's not normal that you voice a different opinion, because he only called you to dictate what to write and you shouldn't contradict him. I said, that's his opinion. But I beg to differ. I think I am entitled to my own opinion as an expert on field, and I believe he's wrong. And actually, you know, that's when I said, if he told you you need to punish me, then I will leave. I will go to Geneva. Just don't worry. I will see how you do without me at the reunion. When everybody else around will say the same thing. So this is what I'm saying. Basically, it's a limiting belief. And for example, that individual realized later on, a few months later, that he thought that man from presidency, the chancellor, is like a god and he cannot actually have an opinion in his face. But when he reached a different level, when he got out of that confined area, where this man was this important counselor to the president, and he was intimidating for him, he realized, but that individual is not that powerful and clearly is not that smart, because what he asked to be written in the evaluation was stupid. And everybody else thought the same from all the other countries which were party of the treaty. So you see, this is exactly what I'm pointing out. It's only a belief that you cannot fight the system, that you cannot you fight in astral, that they created all these bondages and that you should keep quiet. But this is a programming they create on you in order not to challenge them. Because if you challenge them, you will learn that you have all the power in the world, first of all. Second of all, you have all the rights in the world to speak up and to fight for yourself. And because you have all this belief, then your power will be multiplied accordingly and the divine realm will come through to you. I am telling you, this is very important for everybody to understand. You can fight, and I am a living proof. You can fight because the divine realm will come through for us if we fight. Because this is why we came here in 3D. We didn't come here to comply and be obedient with their bondages to steal rights from us and so on. There's another example that God asked me to give, and that's about the priest, which I have been mentioning. I said in the previous video that I went to the monastery nearby immediately after the attack because I wanted to get advice, and I was already very concerned at that point in time, and I was like, okay, I need to speak with a human so I can hear out loud when they give me the answer, because this is getting too crazy for me. And I need to understand what is going on. And I told you in the previous video that the priest actually explained to me the entire system. You know, I really needed at that point in time, in spite of all my firm belief in God and Jesus and so on, I needed a human being to speak to me and to say the truth. And I actually said this to Jesus. I said, I just feel like I'm losing my mind. I need to hear somebody speaking to me about this because I'm all alone in this, and I need to make sure that I'm not going crazy and this is true, what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing from God. And the priest, as I said, explained to me the whole system. It's the priest who explained to me clearly, more clearly than God did. And basically, I spoke with him a few times, and at some point, he himself told me the same. This is a system. You cannot fight with them. You just leave them alone. You cannot fight with them because this is a system. They do this to everyone. And they do this energy harvesting, and they send all these demons in order to program, depending on whatever kind of programming they want to do on every individual. They steal this, they do that, they do this. I heard from him much of this, what I know now. And there were people from his monastery, priests from his monastery, which were part of this convent here in Chernica. And I was shocked. And I said, no, I will fight this. And I said, and you look, and I said, look into my eyes. I don't want to hear you talking about forgiveness to me. I want them punished. Every single fucking thing they did to be done to them. And actually, the priest actually said, you know, you're entitled to have whatever decision and opinion you want on this. Because it's your right. So this is what I'm saying. You see, if you talk to a priest, normally they keep saying, give forgiveness, give forgiveness. But when I told him this, he said, okay, you are entitled, and this is part of the astral rules. You can claim justice and judgment on them. And but no priest will come and tell you this. You see, he knew I can actually have direct communication with God and Jesus. And because of this, he acknowledged that it is true, you can claim justice and judgment on them. But otherwise, normally, they don't tell you, you know. And I was going daily there, and actually, after a while, I couldn't stay in my home. So I went to the church, and I asked him, I said, I need to stay somewhere, because I cannot stay in my home anymore. I'm literally, I cannot breathe, and I faint when I enter my house. The energy is that dark and that strong. So he said, I asked, can I stay here at the monastery? Because usually they have a space for visitors where they can actually purchase for a few nights to stay in the monastery. And I said, and he said, okay, you can purchase to stay here. I stayed there for almost a week. I actually wanted to stay there for good. I didn't want to return back home, but then he came to me and he said, I spoke to these individuals. One day he came to me and he said, I spoke to them. This is how he said, I spoke to them, and they said, they proposed a deal that you withdraw your resignation, you withdraw your complaint which you made, and you say or accept that a diagnosis of schizophrenia on you, and in exchange for all of this, they give you pension. So they say you are sick and they give you pension, so you don't have to go to work anymore, and you will have a pension on disease evaluation or something like this. On schizophrenia, you see, saying that I'm schizophrenic, and they said, no, excuse me, why are you speaking to them? Why are you speaking to them? You betrayed me. Why are you speaking to them? Why are you making negotiations between them and me? I don't negotiate with them. I made a complaint and I resigned. I'm not withdrawing that. Even if I die tomorrow, I told him, listen to me, look into my eyes. If I die tomorrow, I don't withdraw anything. And this is just the beginning. Just tell them this is just the beginning. I'm just starting now. You understand? And I don't understand why you say that I should accept this schizophrenia. You yourself told me exactly how this functions. Why would I accept a schizophrenia diagnosis on me, which is not true? And he said to me, listen, he said, there were other individuals before you who accepted this deal. So do you understand that all these people who tell you that you shouldn't fight, they are actually involved in this. They actually maintain a general mental programming of people not fighting, because they know full well that if you fight, God will come through for you, because they stole rights from you, because they did all sorts of contracts on you, and everything is just exactly like I explained it in other videos. So basically, they basically work together and they maintain this belief. So he actually said this to me. If you accept all of this, so he was shocked, and I was so saddened. First of all, of him being shocked, he was shocked. He said, "You have such a good salary. Why would you give up all this money? Who do you want to take care of you? How will you survive?" Because they told me, because he said, they told me to tell you that from tomorrow, all doors in Romania will be closed for you. You will never find work. You will never find help. You will never find... He kept saying, you will never find anything, basically. So you should accept this offer, because there were others before you which accepted the same offer. So you should accept it as well. So I was so outraged initially, and I told him what I just said before. Then after I left the monastery when I saw this. I said, I'm not staying here anymore, because this is not safe for me. If you negotiate with them, I'm leaving. And I told him, you betrayed me as well. Why are you talking to them? Why you negotiate with them behind my back? And why are you telling me to accept this idea of diagnosis of schizophrenia on me? Because this is not true. Why would I accept this? This has also consequences. If I accept this on my rights, on future embodiments of me, and so on. Why would you ask me to accept this? And you know what he said? He said, who do you expect to help you? This was the church, which normally exists for spiritual fighting. This is their purpose. They have a salary, a housing, and all of that in order to carry on the spiritual fighting and educate the population about spiritual fighting. But none of the information which I receive from this priest, you will receive if you go and just sit in a church and talk to a priest. Nobody will tell you all of this. It took for me a long time and to get through this attack in order to receive this information from a priest. And he basically asked me, who do you want to help you? And I just looked at him, so I said, I expect God to help me. So he didn't answer to this, so I said to him, we're in front of the altar. You are a priest. Do you mean to tell me you don't believe in God helping me? So I left basically the monastery, and I was very saddened, and because I realized he was so puzzled when I asked him this. He was in such an internal conflict. I could see the internal conflict in his energy and on his face. Basically, on one hand, it was his, faith, whatever faith, how much he had. But on the other hand, his deep conviction and fear, I believe, that this system is not possible to be defeated, and that I shouldn't even try to defeat it or fight for myself or anything of this. So he couldn't answer this question to me. He was in such a deep conflict within himself. He couldn't answer to this question. I said, we're in front of the altar and you're a priest. Do you mean to tell me you don't believe God will help me? And I left basically, and I was very saddened. And I realized, this is, the church is doing the most harm, because they are hiding all of this information from the people. Much the same as they have classes and extensive research about spiritual fighting, and they refuse to share it with people. You go to church, you hear nothing about all of this, but they know everything about it. They are paid and they have housing and everything only to do this. This is their purpose, to guide people in spiritual fighting. And instead of that, because of this fear, they became the enemy. They became the enemy because they are just promoting limiting beliefs on people, telling you to forgive everyone, not telling you that you can claim justice and judgment, not telling you how to defend yourself, and not telling you, talking to anyone about their abilities, which they are able to see, by the way. So they basically became the enemy because of accepting this concept of this is the system, we go with the system, this is how it's done, we shouldn't challenge, we shouldn't be in conflict, we shouldn't do this, we shouldn't do that. Actually, you should be in conflict, because this is why you came here to fight against 3D system. This is why we all came here, to fight against this system. And you have the knowledge of how to fight, and you should tell people, because you have you are paid for this, and you have a housing for this. So this is the self-fulfilling prophecy. When you as a priest believe that there is nothing we can do, you yourself with your recommendations will create a limiting situation where indeed there will be nothing that you can do, because you're giving your power away. You don't believe in your power. You don't believe in God coming through for you. You don't believe in anything, essentially, or you allow fear to overshadow all your beliefs. So this is very wrong. This is very wrong. And I will just tell one more story. Oh, it's so late, but God asked me to say this as well. That during this time, because of course, as I said, I resigned. After a number of months, I had an issue, of course, because I needed money. I needed money at some point, and I took basically, I cannot say jobs. I didn't want, now knowing at this point, knowing that every contract, employment, involves a bondage on you and selling contracts on you and so on. I said I will never ever have a contract ever again with anyone as employee. Never. But I needed the money. So then I found on internet a few groups of individuals, and this sort of like a black market of different type of tasks, let's say. So there are big stores, market stores, which are hiring per night. So you can go and work there during the night when the store is closed. And there are different chores to make, different things to do, which would be like, for example, I chose how you say this in English? Just placing merchandise on the shelf, you know? So rearranging merchandise in the shelves, something like this. Um, I figured, you know, this can be hard, you know. So I did this, and then also I found another thing, which was giving flyers to people on the streets for different events and stuff like this. And as I was doing this, you know, there were already, I think, half a year passed since the surprise attack, right, by now. And as I was doing this, at one point, I could see that most times when I was leaving home and so on, there was a surveillance following me. And I didn't actually care that much anymore, because I knew I'm in conflict with them anyway. So, and as I was doing this, at some point, one of them actually came to me. One of these individuals from Intel who was surveilling me came to me. And he said, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" I was spreading flyers at that point. And they said, "Well, excuse me, who are you? First of all, who are you that you approach me, first of all?" And he said, "You know where I work. I can assume where you work, but I don't know where you work." So he said, "What are you doing with your studies and with your level of expertise and with your connections and so on? What are you doing here?" And I told him, "I need money. I need money to feed my dog, basically." And so he says, "Why don't you come back to MFA?" And I told him, "You know why? Because placing merchandise on a shelf during night shift with different people, refugees from other countries, this money are cleaner than what you're doing in those public institutions. And this is why I don't come back to MFA." And I told him, and first of all, if you're doing surveillance, keep your distance from me, because you're breaking procedures in talking with me. And if you don't, I call the police. So just take your distance from me. So he left. So I was very annoyed. I was actually angered, you know, that he dared to actually come this close to me and to challenge me like this. And God then showed me that individual actually started fighting himself within the institution afterwards. God said, you know, he couldn't stand seeing you, the fact that you had to do these jobs. And he actually said to me when he approached me, he said, "You know, you are innocent. You shouldn't be doing this. This is not normal what is happening." And God said, you know, he was so much disturbed by how far they went with this against you, that actually he started fighting for himself to get out of this system and so on. So God said, "So just so you'll know that you did a good deed by showing an example to this individual." And he literally, when he saw the injustice done to you, he actually snapped out of all the mental programming and the limiting beliefs and all of this, and he started fighting for himself. So this is what I mean. You know, it takes sometimes just something that makes you snap out of this. I really wish, I'm going to stop here because it's very long. I really wish to all of you that you encounter that person or that thing or that energy or whatever it takes for you to snap out of limiting beliefs, of self-fulfilling prophecies, and the fear of being who God created you to be. I really wish to all of you the strength to be who God created you to be, and to actually work on yourself, to build yourself, to overcome and come out even greater than what God hoped for you to be.